Hey everyone, welcome back. In the last video, we covered for loops, which are perfect when you know exactly how many times you want something to run. But here's the thing, not all loops like to plan ahead. Sometimes you don't know how many times your code needs to run. You just know it should keep going until something happens. And that's exactly what we are diving into today, while loops and do while loops. By the end of this video, you will understand how they work, when to use them, and how they are different from for loops. Let's get started. Before we jump into syntax, let's talk about why while loop exists. With a for loop, you usually know in advance how many times your code should run. You set a start point, an end point, and an increment. Everything is planned. But in real programs, that's not always the case. Sometimes you don't know how many times something needs to repeat. You just know it should keep running until something changes. Maybe you're waiting for a user to enter correct password. Maybe you're checking for data. Maybe you're running something until a condition becomes false. That's where a while loop comes in. A while loop keeps running as long as the condition is true. The moment that condition becomes false, the loop stops executing. So instead of saying run this 10 times, you're saying run this while this condition is true. That's the key idea behind while loops. So we'll start with some while loop basics. A while loop runs a while loop runs as long as the condition is true. Before each iteration, JavaScript checks for the condition, and if it's true, the code inside the loop runs. If it's false, the loop stops immediately. The structure of the while loop also has three key parts: a starting value, which is this, and a condition, and an update. First, you set up the variable outside the loop. In case of for loop, we set up everything in one line. But here, in while and do while loops, you set up the variable outside the loop. Then, inside the while parenthesis, you write a condition that uses the variable. And finally, inside the loop, you update the variable so the condition eventually becomes false. If you forget to update the variable, the loop will never end, and this is called infinite loop. We also saw an example while we are discussing for loops. So similarly, you must have an update condition, and so this also has the same flow. So the flow of while loop is also simple. It checks for the condition, runs the code, updates the value, and repeat until the condition becomes false. And let's look at the do while loops. Do while loops are also very similar to while loops, but there is only one key difference: the code inside the loop always runs once. So in a do while loop, like, you'll need the same three things: a starting value, a condition, and an update. The code runs first. So if you could see here, the code is running first, and then JavaScript is checking for the condition. If the condition is true, the loop runs again. If the condition is false, the loop stops. This makes do while loops useful when you want something to happen at least one time, no matter what, like showing a menu once or asking for user input before validating it. So the key takeaway is, like, while checks the condition first, do while runs the code first, then checks for the condition. So the biggest difference is when the condition gets checked. In with a while loop, the condition gets checked before the code runs, and if it's true, the code runs. If it's false, you know, the loop, it does not enter the loop yet. But inside the do while loop, the code runs first, the condition is checked afterward. That means the loop will always run at least once, even if the condition is false. Because of this, you usually use while loop when the loop might not need to run at all, and do while loop when you want to guarantee the code run at least once. So we'll see example of such cases. So let's take an example here. So, yeah, we'll change this. Let's have a variable called number, and its value is 7. And as long as we want the number less than 5, we want the number less than 5, and the code should run. So what shall we do? We'll just console log number, and you should have an update condition, which is number plus plus. So here we are asking it to print the number as long as the number is less than 5, but the value of number is 7, which means this will not be executed because our condition is number less than 5, which is false in this case. So if you run it, nothing is executed, and if you make it a number less than 5, then only the loop runs. So see, 4. So the number is 4. 4 less than 5 condition is true, and it is printing the number to the console, and then it is updating number to 5, and again checks for the condition 5 less than 5, which is false, exits the loop. So if we look for 3, then again, so now it prints 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Now same case, the number is 7, but you want to console log, you want to print the number in the do while loop, but uh, condition is also same. Yeah, so here similarly, our value of our number is 7. Our condition is print if it is less than 5. Hence it is a do while loop. No matter what the condition is, the code will run once, at least once. Now if you run this, you can see 7 is printed to the console. Why? Because uh, number is 7, so do, and it enters the block, it prints the number, and updates the number to 8, and then checks for the condition 8 less than 5, which is false. Then it won't enter the loop again. So this is how while and do while loop differ in case of execution. Now let's talk about loop control, specifically like updating the condition. Every while and do while loop depends on a condition to know when to stop. So if that condition never changes, the loop will run forever. So that's why updating the loop variable inside the loop is critical. Usually you start with a variable using, outside the loop. Each time the loop runs, you update that variable by incrementing or decrementing or changing it in some way. This update moves the loop closer to the point where the condition becomes false. If you forget to update the variable, the loop will never become, the condition will never become false. So let's have a value here, 4, and I don't write my update condition. I don't write. So now number is 4, my condition is number less than 5, which is true. So print the number, printing 4, but I'm not updating it. So JavaScript checks the condition again, 4 less than 5, yes, prints 4. Again 4 less than 5, true, print 4 again. So it is an infinite loop, it won't stop executing. So you need to have something to update your loop variable. Similarly, in a do while loop also, yes, uh, it executes once, but so if the number is 3, let's say 3, so we are asking for a do while loop, right? Okay, we'll write this here. Will come. Yeah. So now let's see how it works. Now the number is 3. It goes into this block and yes, prints 3 to the console, and it is updated to 4. Checks the condition 4 less than 5. Sorry, we are missing the update, right? Yeah. So checks for the condition 3 less than 5, true. Prints the number again, 3 less than 5, true. Prints the number again, right? So again, infinite loop. See, printing 3 again and again. So you need to have an update statement. You need to update it somehow. Like you can add, you can do plus plus, you can do minus minus, and you can add, jump two numbers at a time. If you forget to update a variable or update the wrong one, you create infinite loop, which can freeze your program or crash your browser. So always remember, start with a value, check a condition, update the value. That update is what gives your loop an exit. Break statement. We learned what break and continue statement. We learned about these two while we are discussing our for loops. So similarly, the break statement is used to stop the loop immediately, even if the condition is still true. When JavaScript encounters a break, it exits the loop right away. Clear everything? Okay. So we'll have a condition. If so here my condition is if number is equals to 4, then exit the loop, terminate the loop, right? Do not even okay, do not even print it, exit the loop. So let's see. So here number equal to 1, condition is true, enters the block. This condition is false. So prints the number, updates the number to 2. Again checks for the condition, 2 less than 5, true again. So inside the block, this is false. Prints the number 2 to the console, update the number to 3. Again the same thing, prints 3 to the console, update the number to 4. Once the once for 4, it checks 4 less than 5, yes, it is true. Now here number 4 equal to 4, this is also true, so it encounters break here. So break, it exits the loop, it doesn't print or update, it terminates the loop then and there. So it is 3, same thing, only 1 and 2 printed to the console. Wait, only 1 and 2 printed to the console. Now the continue statement. So inside the for loop, it doesn't matter, you can just replace this with continue and it works perfectly. But here, because you have everything in one line, right? So for every iteration, it increments the value. Here you need to be careful how you are updating the value. So here what I'm asking is, so let's say this is 2. So 2 less than 5, it is true, this is false. So it ignores this, prints the number to the console, and updates the number. Fine. So now my number is 3. 3 less than 5, again true, comes into, so checks the if condition, number is equal to 3, which is true, 3 equal to 3, continue. Skips this iteration, but it is not updating my value. So the number is still 3. Again, goes back, checks the condition, 3 less than 5, true, comes into the loop. If condition 3 equal to 3, again true, skips the iteration. So you don't see any output, you see only 2 printed to the console, but it still is an infinite loop. Like it is not terminating there, because it is skipping the iteration, going back and checking the same condition. So you need to be careful while using continue inside your while loop. So you need to update it before you continue before you continue. First I'll show you how it works if you don't update properly. So you see 2 printed to the console, but you see this one here, stop code run. Your code did not stop executing. So once I hit this, yeah, so it took 11 seconds, like it kept on running the same iteration again and again. Now if I update the value here, you can see it prints 2 and 4 to the console and then just exits the loop. So you need to be careful while using continue with your while and do while loops. Again, so break completely terminates the loop, and the continue statement use it to skip the current iteration of the loop. The loop, so when JavaScript hits continue, it jumps straight to the next loop check without running the rest of the code iteration. But you need to check carefully whether you are updating your variable correctly or not. Otherwise, again, infinite loop, unexpected outputs. While and do while loops are commonly used when the number of iterations is unknown. Like in for loops, you are like do this, execute this code until the number becomes 10. But you don't, in case of while loops, you don't sometimes know what exactly the condition is. You just want it to run until some condition becomes false. Yeah. So they are useful for user input validation, where you keep asking user for input until it's valid. They're also used when waiting for something to change, like data loading or condition being met. Another common use case is repeating an action until a specific result occurs. In short, these loops are best when you don't know ahead of time how many times the code needs to run. One of the most common mistakes uh, is forgetting to update the loop variable, which leads to an infinite loop. Another mistake is writing a condition that can never become false. Off by one errors are also common. We saw off by one error while explaining for loops. They are also common, and like when we make off by one error, the loop runs one too many times, or one time too few. With the do while loops specifically, developers sometimes forget that the loop always runs at least once, which can cause unexpected behavior. Carefully check your condition and update the logic. That helps avoiding these issues. So most of the times we'll use while and for loops. There are only a few cases where you'll use do while loops. Few scenarios you'll be like, yeah, yeah, I can use a do while loop here. And the difference between while and for loops is clarity and intent. A for loop is best when you exactly know how many times you want to loop everything, the start, the condition, and the update. It is defined in one place. A while loop is better when the loop is based on condition rather than count. especially when a number of iterations is unknown. So let's say uh, let's say we have two variables. Let's say we have two variables. One variable is 6 and one variable is 10. So if they are small numbers, we know how many iterations it takes for 6 to reach 10, right? So we'll just write 6 to reach 10, maybe 4 iterations. But there are the numbers are big and the differences is big. You don't know how many iterations you need to take. You need to take for number A to reach number B. So that time you'll just write number A equal to, not equal to number B. So until these two numbers are not equal, the loop runs. As soon as these two numbers become equal, the loop terminates. So we'll see an example here. Number A is 2, number B is 10. So for suppose you don't know how many iterations you need for number A to reach number B, right? So you're just trying to print each number until you reach number B. So while these are two are not equal, the loop runs. The condition is true. If these two are equal, the condition eventually becomes false. So I'm updating my number A on each and every iteration. So let's see. Oh, number is not defined. See, so it is printing every number from 2 till it reaches 10, and when it reaches 10, 10 not equal to 10, condition becomes false and the loop terminates. So this is when in such cases you don't you use while loops. Both loops can do the same things, but choosing the right one makes your code easier to read and understand. So when the difference is like this, you know how many iterations you need to have. So you can use any loop, it doesn't matter. But so when you know exactly how many iterations, try to use for loops, and if you don't know how many iterations, try to pick while loops. To practice while and do while loops, you can try some of these ideas. Create a loop that counts up or that counts down. Repeat a message until a condition becomes false. Use a do while loop to run code at least once. Add a break to stop a loop early. Use continue to skip certain values. Practice these patterns. These will help you understand when and why to use each loop. So we'll see some examples. So here our number equal to 0, number less than 10, and we are incrementing the number. If number equal to 5, we are skipping that iteration, and if number equal to 8, we are entirely terminating the loop till we reach these two. We are printing the number to the console. So if we run this, so our expected output is 0 should be printed, 1 should be printed, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be skipped, 6, 7 and 8 won't be printed because if it is 8 we are breaking. So 0 to 7, and we'll skip 5. Okay, we don't have 0 because we are incrementing the number before printing it. So it is 1 to 7 and 5 is skipped. We'll also see an example for a do while loop. So this is the code. Here our attempts is 0. So first we are incrementing the attempt. We are trying to print attempt number and attempts. So here attempt value is 1, 1 is printed to the console. So attempt number 1 is printed to the console. Then 1 less than 3, condition is true. Going inside the loop, incrementing number 2, attempt number 2, 2 less than 3, inside the loop again. The number is 3 now, attempt number 3. Now checking the condition 3 less than 3, which is false, terminates the loop. So attempt number 1, 2, 3 is printed to the console. Attempt 1, 2, 3. Yes. So these are a few examples. Try to practice some different scenarios where try to play with those do and while loops and do while loops. Until you get handy and understand when to use what. Uh, to wrap things up, while and do while loops are all about control and flexibility. You use while loops when you want your code to run only if a condition is true. You can use a do while loop when you need your code to run at least once, no matter what. The key things to remember are always update your condition, watch out for infinite loops, and use break and continue when you need more control over how your loop runs. For while and do while loops can all achieve similar result. The difference is choosing the one that makes your code clearer and easier to understand. Once you're comfortable with these, you'll have much more confidence writing in real world JavaScript. That's it for today. We'll see you in the next video. If you feel that this video helps you, please do like, share, and subscribe, and suggest this for someone who is learning JavaScript.